Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kodesh. I'd like to say double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of the Great Millstone, the men whom I've learned this truth from. And I would also like to say Shalom and salutations to the elect that's out there preaching this word in truth and sincerity. I'm the brother Shaquat, and I'm one of the brothers from the branch of Great Millstone, Montreal. And I'm back once again with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Mashai, of course. Right? And this lesson that I'm going to be getting into today is going to be dealing with, the wisdom that has been given, to us, right? Because this wisdom is a gift from the Most High, through His Son Yahweh Shai. And it's a precious gift, right? That's why there's a parable about a pearl of great price, right? So this wisdom is synonymous to a pearl that's valued at an immense amount of money, man. And really, you can't put an amount to the wisdom that Yahweh Bashim Masha has given His men, and that wisdom comes from the doctrine that the elders, the bishops, and apostles of Great Millstone have, right? That stems from the doctrine, but ultimately the Holy Spirit, right? The Holy Spirit is working with the men of the Lord to to teach the right thing, and pretty much to have the right doctrine, and to have the right wisdom, right? Because you have Christians, you have other people that have possession of the scriptures and actually teach the scriptures, but they don't have the right understanding of it. They're not. They don't know how to pretty much pull the power out of the scriptures at its max, for lack of a better word, right? And we're not really pulling it at the max, because the scriptures also speak about how that we prophesy in part, we know in part, and we prophesy in part, but we have the closest withdraw of the power of the scriptures than anybody else that's out there. Matter of fact, we do have the 100% truth, because when it deals with the scriptures, right, on the understanding of the scriptures, the apostles, they do have the 100% truth, of things that we need. So we have that 100% power of understanding, or of the scriptures. We have that, that full percentage of the scriptures, right? Because we understand that, hey, the Lord's not dealing with everybody. We understand the prophecies. I mean, the future events that are getting ready to come. We understand the history as well, right? And how to fix, the mistakes we made in our past, the forefathers, right? And that's through repenting and turning back to Yahweh Bashim Ashak, right? So this lesson that I wanted to get into, without rambling on, was going into the fact that this wisdom that the Lord has gave us is deep, right? It's deep, right? It's not black and white. There's more than one aspect to it, right? So let me get a precept real quick. This is the book of Romans. Salakia. Yep. Romans 11 and verse 33. Oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. How unsearchable are His judgments, and His ways past finding out. For who hath known the mind of the Lord, or who hath been His counselor? Right there. So the name of the true power of heaven and earth is Yahweh, and His Son's name is Yahweh Shai. So when dealing with the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai, so they're the creators of wisdom. You know, Yahweh Shai was the creator of the earth along with the elect, right? And there is no end to the Most High's creation of things, right? Through Yahweh Shai, because we understand that the Lord gave Yahweh Shai the blueprint to create everything. But just like the Lord is, there is no end to the wisdom and the creation of Yahweh Bashim Ashai. And us as human beings, man, or being here on the earth, we only understand a fraction and see a fraction of the Lord's wisdom and knowledge. But there's, even within that, we still haven't got a full grasp of it, man. There's still more things, you know, to know about within the things that we already know, right? What about the things that we don't know or haven't been hipped to, right? Um, so with that being said, let's go from there to the book of Sirach, and I'm gonna read this in the GNT, Sirach 24 and verse 23. In the GNT it says, "Wisdom is the law which Moses commanded us to keep, the covenant of the Most High, the inheritance of the synagogues of Israel." Right. So wisdom comes from the law, right? Because in the law, there's a lot of aspects of understanding, right? And that it covers what the dietary, aspects like the dietary law, and, what to eat and what not to eat, right? That's a form of wisdom right there, because it breeds life to know what to eat and what to stay away from, right? That's why scriptures also speak about wisdom, being the wisdom of the scriptures being the doctrine of life. This law that the Lord gave us is the doctrine of life. Because everything that's pretty much in the law, uh, the commandments that the Lord left for us in the law is for us to live, to stay alive, man. It's to our benefit to stay alive, right? For example, eating something and not eating something, because if you eat particular things, it's going to be detrimental to your health and your mental state, so on and so forth, right? Even how you treat one another, right? There's also laws about giving land rest. There's laws about returning something that's lost of your brother. So all these things are all these laws. The majority of them are dealing with, or they yield life, right? And that's wisdom, right? That's why also in the book of Deuteronomy it speaks about this wisdom. All these other nations, when they look at this, the way we operate, they'll be like, "Yo, what nation has the Most High so nigh onto them?" You know, when they see us operating on that level with these laws, with this wisdom. Verse 25, Sirach 24 and 25 in the GNT, the law overflows with wisdom, like the Pison River, like the Tigris at fruit picking time. The law brims over with understanding, like the Euphrates, like the Jordan at harvest time. It sparkles with teachings, like the Nile, like the Gihon at grape picking times. And these are some of the great rivers um, that are out there, man, on the earth, right? Um, so the wisdom that stems and pours from the law is being compared to these great rivers, man. And these rivers were really great. Yahweh Shai also spoke about he that believeth on me, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. So this wisdom is going to come out of him if you believe in Yahweh Shai and the words that Yahweh Shai spoke, right? Because you're going to be occupied in prophecy, right? And being occupied in prophecy, you're also occupied in the Lord's words, the Lord's wisdom, the Lord's laws, right? So I meditate on the law. I think there's a precept that speaks about that. Reading on verse 28, the first human being ever created never knew wisdom completely, right? Because um, at the beginning of something, you still have to learn it out. You still have to figure it out, like the apostles often go into, right? We had to learn um, wickedness in order to appreciate righteousness. One of the sayings that their elders mentioned, right? I forgot the name, but yeah, you have to learn about that. We're learning about wickedness uh, to appreciate righteousness, and that almost completes our understanding to know both sides of the spectrum, right? That's why the first human being ever created never knew wisdom completely. It says, and the last person on earth will be no more successful because there's still no end to wisdom. There's no end to it. There's so much aspects of things that um you can't really put you know put an end to. You can't put an end to learning, right? And that's one of the things that King Solomon was frustrated and upset about. Because being on the earth and the limited time that we have here, you don't have time to completely gain the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that you would like, and to see things through, right? That's why King Solomon was upset. That's why he said vanity is vain for a man to work so hard to build up particular things and not be able to see them through because he's eventually gonna die, and those things would have to be um, given to his son, to his predecessor, and you don't know what sort of person that person will be, right? So you don't get to see things through, and that's why in the kingdom, you know, we're still gonna be learning new things, right? We're still gonna be learning new things, but we're gonna be able to see things through as well because we're gonna live forever. We're gonna be immortal, man. You know. It says, verse 29: the possibilities of wisdom are vaster than the ocean. Her resources are more profound than the deepest waters beneath the earth. As for me, I thought of myself as an irrig- irrigation channel bringing water from a river into a garden. Right, so that word irrigation means a supply, right? Let's get a better definition. The supply of water to land or crops to help growth, typically by means of channels, right? So he was a carrier. Let me look that up in the regular Google definition to give me a better understanding of it. In the Google, uh, irrigation is the artificial process of applying controlled amounts of water to soil to assist the growth of crops, lawns, or landscapes. So he was a cistern, right? He was a cistern. It says, as for me, I thought of myself as an irrigation channel bringing water from a river into a garden. I only intended to water my orchard and flower beds, but the channel soon became a river, and the river became a sea. And so I present you with my learning. Right, so that's what the prophets are doing. They're presenting learning to the people, right? They're pouring water upon them. Uh, um, Ezekiel 37, the dead bones that they may live. We're spiritually bringing them back to life through giving them this water, which this water is the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures, right? Um, he that believeth on me, as the scriptures has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. Waters that, if you drink, that brings you back to life. That's why Yahweh was dealing with that Samaritan with him, and he said that. But if you drink this water, you're never gonna thirst again. Matter of fact, let me get that. John 4. I know what that's at. That's John 4. One of the heaviest accounts. Um, yeah. John 4 and 13. Yahweh shall answer this and unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again, the water from the well. Verse 14, but whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. Whosoever drinketh and consumes the wisdom and understanding that I give him, he's never going to thirst. Why? Because the words that Yahweh shall speak are the words of everlasting life. You know, they're the doctrine of life. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. And that's the kingdom. Because the scriptures speak about what? The kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of heaven begins with this knowledge. And once you have it in you, you just have to keep it in you, right? And ultimately, it's going to spring up into everlasting life, leading and leading you to a kingdom, right? It says, as for me, I thought, Sirach 24 and verse 30, as for me, I thought of myself as the irrigation channel, bringing water from a river into a garden. So this, he's saying that he's carrying water into and pretty much watering a garden, and that's what we're doing. Apollo's watered, but the Most High gave the increase. Paul planted, Apollo's watered. So when you teach somebody or you're pouring out and speaking and teaching somebody, you're pouring water on them, But it's up to the Most High whether they grow or not, whether they bud or not. Verse 31. I only intended to water my orchard and flower beds, but the channel soon became a river, and the river became a sea. And so I present you with my learning. I hold it high so that its light can be seen everywhere, like that of the rising sun. Like an inspired prophet, I pour out my teachings so that future generations can benefit from them. It says, please realize that I have not done all this hard work for myself alone, but to help anyone who wants to be wise. Right? So that was an example of wisdom, um, having more than one, or wisdom being unsearchable, right? And that's the wisdom that we have, that the Lord has given us. We have that wisdom that's unsearchable, in the sense of where, there's so much to learn. There's so much things to learn, and there's no end, right? Which is a good thing, because if you want to be wise, you're gonna desire to want to figure these things out, because this is the Lord. Scriptures speak about it as the Lord's to conceal a matter, and is the princess to search it out. Roughly paraphrasing, yeah, but that's what we're doing, man. We're searching out, the matters of Yahweh Bashimashan, and it's a glory to a wise man, and it's honor to a wise man to want to figure things out, to want to figure out the reasonings of men, to want to figure out why things operate the way they operate. You know that's wisdom. Mm, and obviously, like I mentioned, everything is not just black and white. There's more than one aspect to things. All right. So this is from the Chat GPT, and the question I asked, I said, give me an example of something that has more than one way to view it in terms of wisdom and knowledge. It says a simple example is rain. A farmer may see rain as a blessing because it helps crops grow. Someone planning an outdoor wedding may see it as a problem. A child may see it as an opportunity to play. A meteorologist may see it as a part of a weather system study. It says, knowledge is knowing what rain is and how it forms and what effects it has. Wisdom is understanding how rain affects different people and situations and responding appropriately, right? So, yeah, there's different. This rain is one thing, but it could be viewed in different angles depending on your situation, right? It might be beneficial to you, or it might be aggravating to you, right? So that's an example of something that's one thing, but could be viewed in different forms, and that's what wisdom is. And the forms are and scenarios are, they're deep, just like a tree and roots. There's a lot of roots to a tree, right? It says, reading on, this illustrates that the same thing can be viewed from multiple perspectives. Knowledge gathers the facts, while wisdom helps you discern the meaning, timing, and proper response. That's right. That's why the laws are known as wisdom, because it helps you discern the meaning of a particular scenario or situation, the timing, and the proper response for it, right? That's why when you deal with Deuteronomy 22, you have to understand, um, because it gives you different accounts of the great, you know, and when to apply or when to apply what judgment, and what time, and the proper response for what, and what, and what account, and what scenario, and what situation. That's wisdom right there, man. You know, because every situation is not the same. Every situation is not gonna be, hey, this that, and yo, this is the only judgment. This is what This is the only judgment for it. Every situation is not the same. Uh, Last point. It says a biblical example in the story of Joseph being sold into slavery. His brothers saw it as a way to get rid of him. Joseph experienced it as suffering, and later Joseph recognized that the Most High used the situation to preserve many lives during famine. The event itself was the same, but its meaning could be viewed from different angles as understanding grew over time. And that's the thing. When dealing with Yahweh Shai, the Lord will set it up to where certain things grow over time, and you learn from them. Just in the case, just like in the case of Moses. I mean, it's like Joseph. He was sold into slavery. You might have thought things were going bad for him, but the Lord had a plan for him. The Lord made all that play out to benefit him at the end, because over time he gained the understanding that the Lord did this. The Lord set this up to my benefit, and to benefit me and my household, right? And that's the case with particular things that we go through as well. The Lord sets up particular scenarios, and you can't just be down if it's negative in that moment. Yeah, you could feel down about it, because yeah, it's good to have a mindset where, oh, you don't know that what this might do for you in the future, and that's how the Lord deals, and that's a part of wisdom right there. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the elect. In closing, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai Bashim Rachakodash. Once again, double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. And as always, shalom and salutations to the elect.